Welcome to Dying to Know, where we open up about everything that comes with losing a loved one.
Because the only thing that's worse than death is not being able to talk about it.
We're your bereavement babes, Leah and Rachel, and today we're getting into an interview. So Rachel, who's coming in today?
So today we have a special guest coming in who's going to talk about becoming a mother while also losing a mother. She's also special to the podcast because it's our producer sister, Theresa Ortiz, and I'm super excited for her to come share her story.
Me too. We did the children's book. We're diving into this interview, so I'm excited. Me too. Let's get to it.
Let's do it. Hi.
Hello.
So today we have Theresa coming on the show with us, and you're no stranger to the show. You're our producer sister and also the infamous Panda's mom.
Yes, I am Panda's mommy.
And I've gotten to know you through the years now. It's been, I guess, a little bit. Mm-hmm. And you have a great story that I'm excited to share. And it came from, as we were getting ready for this season, we were trying to dive into different avenues of grief. And I think our last episode of last season, I talked to my mom, and she really described how losing her mom was such a journey for us. And I think I never really thought about like what it must be like to lose a parent but also still have the responsibility of kids. Mm-hmm. And I feel like both me and Leah were just like, this is so new, and like we almost had the luxury of like being able to like, I mean, we still had responsibilities, but not responsibilities like a kid. Mm-hmm. So when you said yes to coming on, I was happy to be interviewing a friend first, but also happy that you were willing to share our story.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I'm excited, a little nervous.
No, same. You're my first interview, so thank you for also popping my interview cherry.
Of course.
So I wanted to start with you, if you could kind of like go into what your relationship was like with your mom, and then to piggyback on it, what it was like to tell her you were becoming a mom.
Oh man, that's a great question, actually. So I am 32 years old. So my relationship with my mom, of course, as a girl mom, definitely fluctuated. Yeah. And of course, as the middle child, as you said, Miguel is my brother, and then we have an older sister, Victoria. So, you know, and an Aries. So I was giving my mom a lot of spice in my teenage years. But for the most part, as we developed our relationship, me and my mom became best friends. Of course, when I was younger, she was very much the Cuban dictator. This is my household, which I respect and love because it made me the woman who I am today. Mm-hmm. And then our relationship evolved. And she truly was my best friend. Everyone knows it. And she still is, but in a different way now.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
And then I was gonna say, and then do you remember the moment where I guess like you found out you were becoming a mom and how you got to share that with her?
Yes. So I found out that I was becoming a mom in December of 2021. So at that point, it had been 8 months since my mom's stage 4 metastatic breast cancer diagnosis, and telling her was very emotional for me because I wanted to wait the 6 weeks, but I was like, I don't know. You know, when a loved one gets diagnosed with a condition, especially a terminal condition, you just want to soak up every moment. 100%. So I found out, I believe it was December 6th, and my mom's birthday is December 10th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I decided to, I knew I was going to FaceTime her in the morning of her birthday, and I wrote her a poem. And the poem, it kind of sounded, when I was reading it to her, like it was me writing it to her. Mm-hmm. But it was, in fact, her grandchild at the time writing it to her.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, so I ended it with, I can't wait to meet you, abuelita, which is grandmother, or my dearest grandmother in Spanish.
Amazing.
So she was beyond the moon excited. I was so mad, though, because I recorded it. I screen recorded it, and on FaceTime, you can't hear the audio.
We've all made that mistake.
I was so deflated afterwards, but I still have the video, and I can literally still hear her voice. Yeah. And, of course, when I miss her, I go to that video, because she was just like, oh, my gosh. And, of course, she was in the car because it was her birthday, and she was going to her favorite place in the world. So I'm glad that I caught her early enough to be able to tell her that surprise. So it was just... there was no words to describe how excited that she was.
Yeah,
and
so
it
like
made
all
my heart...
happy thoughts.
Yes, of course.
Oh, that's amazing. That is honestly one of the sweetest ways I've ever heard. And like the timing of it just seems super magical and like beautiful.
Yeah.
Was there, because you mentioned that your mom was in stage 4, was there any like worriness with it? Or like, did you have any, I guess not pre-grief, but like, was it all just excitement?
You know, it was excitement. So we had been trying for 5 months. When my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, we kind of, not sped up the process. At the time, me and my boyfriend were together, or me and my partner were together for 5 years. And so we knew that at the 5-year mark that we were going to try for kids. We never expected for my mom to be diagnosed with cancer in that process. So we had been trying for 5 months. And then when I told her, it was a lot of joy. It was a lot of joy. She was very excited because at the time in my mom's journey, she was doing really well.
Yeah.
She was thriving. She was taking her medication. Her numbers were looking good. Her cancer cells weren't attacking anything extra. So the medication was working and we were really hopeful. I would say 3 months into the pregnancy is when things started to get like, oh, she may not be here for the actual birth. And that's when I kind of started getting into this, like, I wouldn't say panic, but just every phone call was like holding my breath. So to be pregnant, and I'm a firm believer in like whatever you feel transfers to your baby. Yeah. So I had to do a lot of like breathing exercises, a lot of keeping myself busy and distracted just because I didn't want to go down that dark thought of what if my mom doesn't actually get to see her first grandbaby, like her first grandchild. So it was definitely a challenging pregnancy in the emotional sense. In the physical sense, luckily, I was feeling great when I was pregnant. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. When you said there was that turn, was it more like, or how is the balancing act of like, okay, I'm going to lose my mom, but it's like, okay, I'm going to lose that like teacher of like, how to show me how to do everything. Because I feel like I don't have a kid, but like knowing people where it's just like, your mama answers every one of your questions and is always there. Like, did you have that weird balance act like moment at all?
It didn't happen while I was pregnant. No, it definitely didn't happen while I was pregnant because, again, I was still hopeful. Yeah. I was like, okay, these are just bumps in the road.
Yeah, like, you're going to make it. Yeah.
You're going to make it. And I know there's no cure for the type of cancer that she had, but you hear stories about it 10 years, 15 years living with it. So I just kept that. And that, I think, is what helped me. Maybe being a little delulu is what helped me.
Sometimes I feel like that's what you, like, it needs. And I also feel like my brother, we similar timelines too, and I feel like when my dad got that announcement, like I feel like it truly gives them an actual like fighting moment.
Oh yes, 100%, and that's what her doctor said. She had one really good doctor, and he was like, "You are giving her a fighting chance," because every appointment, everyone knew I was pregnant. Any doctors that she went to, my daughter's pregnant. I have to make it. My daughter's pregnant. Please help. And it wasn't even like it had to happen. Like she kept saying, I will see at that point we knew it was a boy. Yeah. She said, I have to see my grandson be born. So, I do firmly believe that everything happens for a reason, and there's a reason why I got pregnant at the time that I did. Yes. And it definitely gave her more energy and more of that fight.
And not to ruin anyone's ending, but she did make it.
Yes.
And what do you remember the day where they finally got to meet? Or I guess...
Well, that in itself is very interesting. So my mom, because of her condition, she wasn't able to make it to the baby shower. The gender reveal was virtual. So a lot of these like pivotal moments in my pregnancy, she was there in spirit, there on FaceTime, but she wasn't there in person. So funny enough, my son was born August 19th, 2022, and my mom was actually in the hospital as well. So I went into the hospital, I got induced on August 18th, and we were in the hospital at the same time.
That's kind of crazy.
It was the most like surreal feeling. I got an experience. I remember being on the phone with her, and one of my nurses, she was like, "Oh, is that your mom?" I was like, "Yeah, she's in the hospital too." And she was like, "Why? Is everything okay?" And I had to explain to her, she was having at that time issues with her breathing because of the cancer. So it was just, we were on FaceTime both in hospital gowns, and I'll never forget
that. Surreal, though, that in a sense that you two might have like been spirit together, and like she was in a room that you needed to be in. Like
yes, I always felt like my mom was my twin spirit.
Yes,
just like
twin flames.
Yeah, twin flames. Yeah, twin flames.
No, I didn't know. That's amazing. I know. Yeah. I don't know all sorry, but that's so beautiful.
Yeah, so she actually got out of the hospital the morning of. Oh wow. So my dad picked her up, and then I had a C-section. My son was born via C-section at 10:33, and they went to lunch to celebrate. Oh. And so they actually, I want to say they went to Carrabba's. I shouldn't look over there because my brother's there. I feel like he knows too.
Drop it.
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure they went to Carrabba's and they were celebrating. So a lot of our celebrations were virtual up until I knew I wanted to wait to travel with my son until he was close to 3 months. And we literally flew out the week, and by flew out, I flew from New York to Florida the week before he turned 3 months. And my mom actually, unfortunately, met him in a hospital again because she was having a complication from the cancer. And the doctors pretty much had called at that time. That was November of 2022 and said, you need to come. I don't think she's going to make it. And so my partner and I changed our flights. We flew out a week earlier than we were supposed to, just because we wanted her to have that experience of meeting him in person. And again, because of my mom's strength and her will to be with her grandson, she got out of the hospital as well 2 days after we were there, and she was back home thriving and spending time with him. And we got to spend a month with her because of our, various paternity leaves that me and my partner had. So that was their first meeting. It was in the hospital, but I try not to remember that because she was really out of it and, on painkillers and things. But I do remember when she came home and she was just giving my baby, giving my grandbaby.
I was going to say, like, are you still in this, like, joyous, happy, like, she made it, like,
yes.
It feels like such an accomplishment.
Yes.
I feel like it's got to be one of the most best feelings
ever.
It
was. It really, honestly, truly, obviously it didn't happen in the way that I thought it would happen, but it's still one of the most, like, endearing moments because as soon as she got home, anytime she got home from the hospital, it was like, I need to shower. I need to get into my shower. And then after that, it was giving my baby. And even though she wasn't, at that point, she was using a walker. She was on oxygen. She still found ways because my mom was by nature a problem solver. And so she still found ways to engage with my son. And even though she couldn't hold him for long periods of times, we made it work. We found ways to make it work. So it was, I'm glad I got to spend that time with her. And we actually got to go back with my son when he was 7 months old in March, and we spent 2 months this time. And, everything happens for a reason because when we got back, it was May 22nd, I believe, or maybe May 18th. And by May 22nd, May 26th, around that time is when the doctors were telling us that they couldn't do anything more for our mom. So everything happens for a reason. I'm a firm believer in that.
And I guess when that May hit and you kind of get like the last words, is that where you're just very concerned about like losing, like, do you remember only being able to worry about like losing your mom, or like are you asking her for advice and like what to do as a mom?
So the times where I wasn't with her, we were on FaceTime all the time. I was on maternity leave. I had nothing to do but take care of a newborn. And so anytime, and, she had her condition, so she was at home a lot. So there would be times where, my son would be up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I just FaceTime her because I knew that most likely, one, she would always answer. And two, she was probably up going through the things that she was going through with her condition as well. So
but those calls probably were so amazing.
They were honestly, they were honestly some of our best calls. And sometimes it was just sitting on the phone or sitting on the call watching like Dancing with the Stars together. If she was having a tough day and she wasn't really up for speaking, understandably so, it was more just sitting and being in each other's company. First when on FaceTime, and then when we were able to visit Florida, of course.
So do you feel like you got those like mom moments in your first stages of being a mom?
Yes, I really truly did. She was very much still an involved grandmother, giving me advice. So he's not sleeping, try this, mamita, or do this and give him to me. I'll burp him. Aww. Or, when we were there in person, she still wanted to, when he started purees, everything for my mom was a celebration when it came to him. And I truly knew that being a grandmother was one of her greatest accomplishments. And I'm glad that she got to see that.
So once, I guess, she did eventually pass, how did motherhood change for you after that?
So I always tell people this. I remember the day after she passed. Mm-hmm. Of course, I had a lot of support. Mm-hmm. We were back home in Florida. My partner at the time was a 100% stay-at-home dad. Oh, wow. So that's amazing. Yeah, well, yeah. It didn't happen on purpose. Yeah. Unfortunately, he was laid off in February. But everything, like I said, happened for a reason.
I feel like. Yeah. I feel like your story and just timing seems so crazy to me.
Yeah. Everything is timing.
The beautiful timing of it all, from just phone calls calls or like being in the hospital at the same time.
Yes, it's true. Everything was timing. So he was laid off in February. March we were in Florida, and we were able to stay in May without any concern because I was on partial maternity leave, so I was able to work remote, and he was able to just focus on being a dad and being a great support for me. So I remember the day after she passed, you know, of course he was 100%. Don't worry about Dominic. Did I mention my son's name? I don't know. His name is Dominic Angel. Aww. And I cannot forget that because my mom always used to be like, Dominic Angel. Aww. She would say his full name. So he was like, don't worry about Dom. Like, I got him. And, of course, my brother that was there. My sister came later. My dad was there. My grandmother. I call her my mother-in-law. My partner's mom. So I had a lot of support that next day. I didn't have to worry about being a mom, and that was great because I think we went to bed at 4:00 in the morning after her passing. You know, she passed at home, so we had to work with hospice, and I woke up at 9, and you know, you're just kind of like in a state of shock. You feel like it's a bad dream. You're like, no, I'm gonna go over there to her room and she's gonna be there. But around 6:00, I remember thinking to myself, girl, you're still a mom. Like, it was like 6 p.m. and my partner was feeding our son, and I was like, I'm going to feed him. And he was like, babe, go relax. And I was like, I'm still a mom. I'm still a mom. And it's like the strength of my mom just like multiplied in me with her passing. So
like, this is what she would want you to do.
Right.
Like, you still got to be there for him.
Yeah, and she would haunt the hell out of me. So if I messed up being a mother and
got that haunted tab, like,
she would. I always told everyone that my mom would haunt me if I messed up being her grandbaby's mother. So I'm afraid of ghosts. I don't like anything scary. So I do not want.
You stepped up to not get haunted.
I was like, I am not going to get haunted by this woman. She can come visit me in my dreams, but I don't want like things falling down or anything like that. So I really, and that's kind of been the story ever since. You know, he was 9 months when she passed, and I have just plummeted forward in the sense of I have to do what I need to do as a mom. And you get this strength that you don't. I honestly thought I was going to fall apart.
Yeah,
I thought I was losing my best friend and the person that I spoke to 3-4 times a day. And so I really was like, how am I going to survive this? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do motherhood without her? And I'm just following my gut. And I feel like my gut is my mom, like telling me what to do, how to move. And trust me, it is not easy at all. There's not a day that I don't think about her, because as I'm navigating motherhood, I'm also thinking, oh, wow, my mom went through this. And what was that like for her? And why didn't I talk about it enough with her?
No, and I feel like that's where this even all came up from, because it's just like, I don't know, my mom lost her mom very young too. And we were such little kids where you don't process it. And it's just like, God, you guys are so strong that like how you said you're like mom just hood kicked in for you.
Right.
I can't even imagine that feeling, because the way you break down after loss is so deep and strong that like, so much power to all the moms and you out there for being able to be like, no, like, I want to do this. I want to take care of him. I love how it was like a little bit of fear of being haunted too. But no, like that power that comes and like the responsibility that you guys still hold, I couldn't even imagine what it felt like. Yeah,
it honestly, I'm describing it to you now, but I still feel like I just did what I have to do. And my cousin she always tells me my cousin Jana, she always says, you don't give yourself enough credit, because when my mom passed, it was June 6th. My son's first birthday was August 19th.
And I was at the party.
Yes, you were at the party.
Threw down, because that was the cutest safari party I've ever seen. And like, I was going to ask how that first birthday was, because it was very hard for my brother to do the first birthday. And like, I had a parent who like loved parties and loved being a part and would have been center of everything. Right. Like, how was that first party without being able to call your mom 3 times to prepare for it?
So I did a double whammy to myself, because it was also his baptism in the morning. Wow. So it was like baptism, and then boom, go get ready for his wild one safari themed birthday party. So I remember going through the motions of the birthday. I will say that at times I can kind of tell that I have disassociated when there are events. I think that's maybe one of my coping mechanisms.
I know, I'm gonna get into that.
Is like to disassociate a little bit from, especially I find when there's an event happening. I kind of, I'm there, I'm a team player, but am I 100% there? I will say no. And sometimes I feel guilty about that because I know it was his first birthday. And I feel like, I can remember back now because he's about to be 2 this August. I can remember back now thinking, I could see where I was just going through the motions there. I was just checking off to-do list. And I remember at the end of, like towards the end of the birthday, at that point I was extremely overwhelmed, and it was a lot of emotion. And of course you're constantly thinking like, I wish my mom was here. Like you see all of these loved ones and you're super grateful that they're there and they're supporting you, especially on both sides of the family. My partner's Puerto Rican. It's a big family. Like these are big events, and I feel a lot of guilt sometimes with events because I'm just like joyful, but my mom is not there. And so it's like this sadness at the same time. So I called my sister who was working on the cruise ships at the time, and she just sat with me. She just sat with me because I was like, I think I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed at this point. I think I started like isolating. And but that just comes with grief. I'm a super mom, but I'm not a warrior. And I'm not a statue. So like and she just was there. She was like, what do you feel? And I was like, I miss mommy. Yeah. And so I'm grateful for her. So I'm a thug. Hold on.
You're also such an Aries. Like as you're talking, I'm like, oh my god, the checklist. Like,
the checklist.
The checklist is what kept me going for a very, very long time because I needed to see that I was completing things to know I was doing good in life. So the checklist, I was like, okay.
And what's fun? And I don't know if you experienced the same thing, but for the checklist, I'm like, okay. I think now, like, what would my mom tell me to check off? Like, what would she say? Oh, mamita, don't forget this. Or, sweetie, did you do that? Like, include this thing? So I'm constantly, like, deep thinking, like, what if my mom was here, what would she tell me? Like, what reminders would she give me?
What would she want to see at this party?
Right, exactly. And I kept telling everyone, I'm doing this for my mom as much as I'm doing it for my son. He's not going to remember. Let's be real. He's going to look at pictures and be like, Mom, why was I in a safari jumpsuit outfit? And so it's really, obviously, it's to celebrate his first year. But it was one of the last things that me and my mom spoke about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was showing her the invitation because I started.
So she knew it was going to be
it was going to be a wild one. We were going through ideas because he loves Miss Rachel, so she was like, let's do Miss Rachel. Like she fully anticipated being at his first birthday. So it was, if anything, it was an honor to her as well.
That's beautiful. I love that. And as you mentioned, you called your sister, like kind of like when you were going through it, would you say like that was one of your major coping mechanisms, is like going to your sister or just needing to talk it out? Like, did you have, I guess, coping mechanisms through this process?
I had a lot of coping mechanisms. So my first coping mechanism, and I hope it's okay that I take it there, was first and foremost God. Yeah. I felt like for me, I dove into more my religion. We grew up Catholic, and me and my partner still practice Catholicism. So I dove into it. I was reading my mom's devotional books. I was reading her Bible. I was reading her notes. It was like I was looking for anything that she could still give me. And I found that through a lot of her books that she had, her daily devotionals. She had notes. I could see her handwriting. So I just started, what first started as I just wanted to read what mom wrote, turned into, well, let me actually read the Bible a little bit more. I knew I grew up Catholic, but have I read the Bible from front to back?
Yeah,
no.
not a lot of people have made it.
So, and I still haven't, but I find that my faith in God had to keep me going, because it's really easy, as I'm sure you know, to go to the dark side.
Oh, 100%.
It's dark literally days. And I still have dark days, I still have dark moments, but at least for me, I know, okay, you're having a dark moment, why don't you open the Bible? Why don't you say a prayer? Why don't you look at your mom's writings from her devotionals and get that boost, that energy?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I'm still a mom, and he needs me, and
Yeah.
he's still young, so he's going to need
needs
me
you a
for a
lot.
while and a lot. So that was like my first coping mechanism. And to your point, my second was going to my safe spaces. Obviously, nobody knows more than my brother Miguel and my sister Victoria on what it felt like losing our mother, because she was, as much as I like to call her, well, that was my mother, you know, it was definitely our mother. She showed up for each of us equally in different ways. So I would reach out to my sister and give her a call and say, like, what are you feeling? Or, you know, my brother and me, well, what's our relationship like? He's younger than me, but I'm still like, oh, he feels like an older brother, because I know I just need a good hug or someone to like tell me it's gonna be okay that I go to my brother for
I know,
that.
sometimes those hugs, because I'm not naturally a hugger.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like, you would find that one friend or, like, my little niece, just, like, the way that they wrap around you. I'm like, oh, this is exactly what I needed.
So I had a full-time hugger because of my son.
Yes,
And
no.
so anytime also, and of course, my son, anytime I was feeling down, I would just look at him, and it's just like, first of all, how did this happen?
He's also the cutest little boy ever.
Oh, thank
so,
you.
Like, that smile alone.
Thank you. Yeah. So I know how he got here, but it's still like, it's still such a surreal feeling. And when I could be in the saddest mood, and he just starts smiling, or his laugh just gets me, and I just start laughing, and I'm just like, how can I be upset? And of course, I have every right to be upset. Yeah. But then I also have this spirit, this new life that I'm experiencing, and he's developing every single day. And as much as I miss her and I want to tell her what he's doing, I also don't want him to have a sad mommy. Yeah. That's my biggest thing. I don't want him. I don't want him to grow up. I mean, he's going to need therapy no matter what. Let's face it, like life. But I don't want him to grow up. My biggest fear has always been that he will grow up and just say, my mom was so sad. Yeah. And I don't want to do that to him. No. Oh, stop. I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't want to do that to him. That's not fair to him. So I have to do what I need to do as a mom, and I guess that's what my mom would want me to do.
Yeah, and too, as you're saying about him growing up, or how you even joked like, "Mom, why am I in a safari outfit?" What do you want to like take from your mom that you want to like not force into him, but like make sure he has instilled in him, or even if it's just like her picture and her like her smile or something, like is there something from your mom that you are making sure that Dominic always carries with him? It's her kindness. Yeah. I pray that my son is as kind as my mom was. My mom would literally give the back, like her shirt off her back for somebody. Mm-hmm. And she was always everyone's phone call. They needed like, she was like a pseudo therapist for I've all of us. So like, I want him to have that level of just kindness for the world, kindness for people, no judgments, show up as you are. That's what my mom always used to say, show up as you are. And I pray that I can do as good as a job as she did, instilling it in us, her children, and to my son and any future children that I may have. So it's definitely her kindness. But in regards to just anything else, it's funny because he's very fair-skinned, and my mom is, she's like, got a milita like me. She's like, a dark-skinned Cuban woman. She's Afro-Latina, or she was Afro-Latina. And so he doesn't really look like her on the outside, but there's some mannerisms that he does that I'm just like, oh, okay, Alma, like, why did you just show up here right now? Especially when he's bored. I'm like, excuse me. Like, he'll sit there like this, and I'm like, excuse me, are you Alma? Am I not entertaining? Yeah, exactly. And my mom, when she was bored, she would do the same. She would sit like that, and I'm just like, how did Isn't it crazy how that happens?
He spent 9 months with her. I'm like, how did you pick this up?
No, it's like they're sponge, and it really does show out. And it's just like, it's them, like how you said, just like, like, I just feel like they tap into them. Like,
yes, of course.
Much.
Yeah, and definitely, like, facial expression. So I'm all for it. And, I do believe in the afterlife. I believe in, heaven and them being at peace and angels. And so my biggest thing is that I always want him to know he has a guardian angel. Yeah. And I want him to know my mom. And And I pray all the time that I'm able to make sure that he knows who she truly was, and she's never forgotten it. And it's hard because he's so young. So I'm going to have to do this for the rest of his life. But I want him to know that even though she's not on this physical earth, that she's still there with you in different ways. And I pray all the time that I teach that to him, because she was a phenomenal woman. Mm-hmm. And if I let it get too dark, I get very sad that he didn't get to spend enough time with her. And maybe it was enough time and I just don't know it yet, because who knows. But I got to spend 32 years with my mother, and I feel like the absolute luckiest daughter alive to be able to. I just wish that my son had those moments, because I remember my grandparents coming to recitals and spoiling me, and coming to graduations and things like that. And of course he has his grandparents on his father's side and my dad on my side, so there's going to be grandparents. But I just know my mom was like the biggest cheerleader, and she would have been front row.
Your other son
other son is acting up.
I know now, she Panda.
Was too. Okay, are you barking on the truth there, Panda?
Right. Panda's like, you're saying it all.
So yeah, I really feel like she would have been in the front row cheering him on, and any of our future children that we have on for any little thing. So I just want them to know that she's definitely cheering them on from heaven and guiding them for the rest of their lives.
No, and I'm sure they will, because I feel like just from knowing both of you and Miguel and like your spirits, I feel like you guys have that energy and spirit. So I feel like you got this.
Yeah, and definitely family helps. I will say family is. I'm so grateful for my family, my partner's family. My partner has showed up in ways that I could have never thought imaginable, and keeping in mind that he also loved my mom just as much, maybe if not more than I did. I know how much he misses her, so for him it's a different, I feel like it was a different process of like, okay, I know that she's my girlfriend, my partner's mom that passed away, but it was very much for him like losing a second mom as well. So, but he was still able to show up for me in ways.
I was gonna ask, like, how was that support and like your support system as you're going through this like dual gaining and losing?
Yeah. So, funny enough, we moved in with his family.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
so
we moved in with his family.
System.
His family lives in the Bronx. They have a multi-family home, and we moved in with him because I knew that I wanted to be around family. And of course, I know I could rely on my brother, my sister, my grandmother, but with his family, they're all still like very local, very in the Bronx. Like if we need help with Dominic, we could pick up the phone and call. As much as we could pick up the phone and call my family, but my family's just more spread apart. Mm-hmm. My dad's in Florida, my sister's constantly on the go, my brother's living his life and working hard and doing things. So we knew that we wanted familial support, but I will say, like you said, timing, he was home for a year. And a lot of those days where I just didn't feel like I could keep going, he was able to recognize, okay, why don't you go relax?
Yeah.
Go shut down. Go do what you need to. I got Dominic. You don't need to worry about him. Go scroll on TikTok or watch YouTube, read your books, because he knows how much I love reading, and just really like go decompress somewhere. And I'm grateful for that.
That's
because,
amazing. Yeah.
If you are going through this and you don't have a supportive partner, my heart goes out to you, because it's really challenging, especially when you have a kid, to know that my son was safe because he was with his dad, and I can really just have those, even if it was just 2 or 3 hours to myself, and relax and kind of just like sit with whatever I was feeling in the moment, was a blessing.
And it gave you a lot of space to really kind of sit with that grief without feeling like you're not doing your mom duty.
Yeah, exactly. So it was a balance. It was always, I'm big on balance. I'm big on 50-50. So it was definitely a balance to make sure like I was healthy and I could show up for our son the way that I needed to as a mom. And of course, like I said, his family and my family, I know that we can call anyone, and as long as they're available and they don't have plans, they would be willing to help out with Dominic in many ways. So I'm really grateful for that. It truly does take a village. Yeah. And it also is a bittersweet because, of course, I would want my mom physically to be a part of that village, but I firmly believe she's pushing people our way to help us. And every time we think like, oh, how are we going to navigate this? Like when my partner went back to work in March, I was like, wait, you were our childcare. Now what do we do? And it ended up working out where I was able to, work partially remote from home until we were able to get a sitter. And his nanny is actually Manny's cousin. So it's really like just a family
That's amazing.
unit. Yeah. So it's really been nice to have the family there and knowing that everyone knows that I'm still grieving. It's only been a little bit over a year and I'm still going through the process of, figuring out motherhood. Every single day is different. Every single day something new comes up with him. And so it's kind of just like constantly reliving that thought process of what we were talking about earlier. What would my mom do in this moment? And, it's bittersweet because I feel her. I know I have her strength, but at the same time, I would give anything to have her here physically. But unfortunately, that's not the case. And to honor her, I just have to keep going.
And I guess in that sentiment of just like, what would my mom do? Do you have like a last piece of advice, or if with someone who is going through a similar situation, or a new mom who is losing one of her parents, like, do you have a piece of advice or a lesson that you think you could share out?
Oh, gosh, that's a good one. That's a really good one. My biggest piece of advice. Okay, so I have two.
Okay, no.
I have two. Take care of yourself. Take care of yourself.
I love that, yeah.
My mom and I used to bicker all the time about her being like, girl, go get your nails done. Yeah. I'm like, Mom, I'm tired. I don't want to do it. She's like, go get your hair done. Go get your eyebrows done. I find now more that she's passed that I'm not constantly, because I do have my bummy days. I have my, sweatpants, hair up, just chilling days. But I find that I try to put myself together as best as possible, even if it's going to get my nails done, making sure my eyebrows are done. I firmly believe in self-care is helping you, and whatever 100%. That looks like for you, go for it and attack it. And I know my mom would be proud of me for saying that, and she would be telling everyone, go love on yourself because life is too short. And I know as a mom, sometimes it's really hard to find the time. Yeah. But even if it's like a 15-minute walk, like just by yourself, like have someone, if you can. If not, put them in the stroller, put your headphones in, and just have that time to yourself, because it really will rejuvenate you when you are able to recharge. Even something as simple as a shower. As moms, I know we don't get to we don't get to It's like, now he's at this stage where he wants to follow me everywhere. Even doing my hair today, I was like, okay, let me close the bathroom door because mommy needs like her own time to like focus and meditate. So that would be my number one, finding any version of self-care that you can for yourself, because it is truly important. And I feel like that has what has helped me along the way, is knowing like, oh, I might be sad on the inside, but girl, you look good on the outside.
Yeah, when you pass a mirror, when you're grieving, it feels extra glowy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like your nails done. Right. Or when someone compliments you on your outfit or something, I'm like, okay, it's okay. You could be sad, but at least you look cute. Right? And then the other thing I would say is, and we're Aries, reaching out to people.
I know that's hard for us.
It is so. That was the biggest battle I had to overcome, was 100%. Not feeling as if, I could do it. I'm fine. I could do this.
I feel that.
Teresa, you're not Teresa in the future. Just know you're not fine. Like, you're not fine. There are going to be times where you're not fine, and it's okay to say, Mikey, can you please watch your nephew, please? Sorry, I mean Miguel. Can you please watch your nephew, or anyone, just knowing like, hey, I need time to recharge. I need time to, and it is very challenging. I don't like asking anyone for help.
I will. Yeah,
I will
need
go
to
to my
that.
grave before I ask people. Yeah, but and it can help anyone. Just ask for help. You really don't know unless you ask. And I always say, and this is going to sound a little morbid, so I don't want
It's
anyone.
okay. We're talking about death and grief here.
I was like, I don't want it. Oh, sorry. I don't want anyone to like think of negatively, but I always say my mom's passing was the worst experience of my life. But if I can get through that, I can get through anything. And so if someone tells me no, that's okay. I'm just going to go find my yes.
Yes.
And just keep it going. And that's kind of how I've been navigating life ever since my mom passed away.
No, I love that. I think that is some great pieces of advice. And again, not just even for moms. I feel like I'm like, damn, I need to take this advice too.
Yeah, it's important.
But no, and thank you for being here and
Of
sharing
course,
all
yeah.
this. And then I guess, try to end it a little lighter on our interviews and give a fun question.
Sure.
So one of our questions is, I guess, no, it hasn't aired yet. But when you are in the afterlife, and if you could choose any person, celebrity, anything to be your ghost buddy, to be hanging out with, who would be your ghost buddy in the afterlife? I happen to choose Selena as my...
Good question. Alive or?
No, they're past too. Yeah.
They have to be passed?
Yeah.
Oh, man. This is a hard one.
Who you want to hang out with, who you want to party with, who you want to just chat and have a great conversation with.
Obviously, my mom is like number one.
Yeah. Or
so
if you can bring her with you.
Yeah, if I can
you
bring
two
her
meeting?
with. Who are we meeting? Man. I'm trying to think of who's passed.
I know.
I'm like, who has passed?
Because I was like, I want to just sit with Selena, try on all her clothes, and have a little mini concert.
See, and I'm not thinking anyone who has passed, and that's the worst part.
You want to kill someone off? Yeah, come with
I
you.
can't kill them off because I'm thinking like now and today. You know what? I would say, kind of channeling your Selena vibes, I would love to just go dance with my mom and Celia Cruz. Like, I would love to just ask her, like, what was it like in Cuba? And because that's also something I never really spoke much to, not just my mom, but my abuela, who passed as well in 2021, just asking her, telling me more about Cuba and, like, what it was like growing up there. So I want me and my mom and my abuela and my tita Elena to all go sit with Celia Cruz and just feel the vibes.
No, I love that, because that sounds like it would be an amazing like session.
Yeah, just like let's just dance. Let's just dance. And so yeah, that would be.
So you guys will all be dancing
because that's how we should celebrate life.
That's amazing.
Dancing, yeah.
And then also to all of our viewers, where can we reach you, find you, follow you?
Okay, so it is a Mind My Journey. Not with a Y, 2 E's. Mind My Journey. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok.
Awesome. And thank you again for being here. And thank you also for sharing Panda with us.
Of course.
He's our honorary little mascot.
Yeah, I'm glad that I was here and this went really well. I'm excited.
I know. No, thank you again for being my first interview and just being a great friend.
Yeah, you were really welcoming. So I appreciate it. I'm hoping I didn't forget anything.
I don't think so. But this was great.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Rachel, great job on your interview.
Thank you.
Now you've joined me in being solo on set with the
Yes,
interviewer.
but so far great.
Yes.
Interviewees who've made us feel comfortable. We've hopefully made them feel comfortable.
Exactly.
But yeah, an amazing story shared.
Yes. I really enjoyed Theresa's conversation with you. I even got a little teary-eyed.
I know, same.
Yes.
I was very surprised, I guess, what emotions you can bring up, like just losing a parent and hearing everyone's stories.
Exactly. I love that she was saying, like, even a part of her grief journey was, like, being a little bit delusional, what we've both shared in on the show and outside of the show. Like, sometimes you really just got to put your head down and just be delusional and get through it, you know?
Yes, no, 100%. I feel like it's interesting to see how much you can relate with someone's story, even though it's completely a different contrast from what you've gone through.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what the grief journey really is.
Exactly.
And I'm glad we're sharing more of it with everyone out here.
I know. I'm grateful that she came on and was open to share her story.
And
I hope it helps someone.
Yes, and everyone's going to tune in where we really dive into everything next week.
Yeah, I can't wait to like get deeper into this story with you.
Me too.
Today's episode is dedicated to Theresa's grandmother. Theresa wrote, "I would like to dedicate the show to my abuelita, Natalia Gladys Matheson de Blanco. Without her, we wouldn't have had our mother." Again, we are your bereavement babes, Leah and Rachel, and thank you for grieving with us.